Uh, Welcome to the seventh session for the second module. Now, actually, in the previous presentation, we were discussed about the sensible heat. Actually, before that, we have discussed there are two ways of storing the thermal energy. In the two ways of thermal energy, one is by the sensible storage of thermal energy by sensible heat, and the second one is by the latent heat. We have discussed what is sensible heat, how it can be stored, that is by the whether it is a sensible heat or a latent heat. And of course, there is one more method, that is a chemical uh, storage, chemical energy storage by the chemical energy storage. But we are not discussing over here with the chemical method. But in the sensible heat or in the latent heat, we have a few materials which converts from solid to the liquid and liquid to the gaseous state. In most of the occasions, what happens whenever they change from one phase to the other phase, there will be a crystalline reformation will be taking place, the physical entity. So in that context, sensible heat is a easy method which is used for converting or for storing of a thermal energy. But though it is easy, but it cannot hold more heat, more amount of heat or thermal energy. So most popular one method which the thermal energy is in storage is by the latent heat storage. And today we shall discuss about latent heat storage, and then we shall go for different applications of solar flat plate collectors. Latent heat storage, that is LHS, is a common approach to thermal energy storage which uses some materials called phase change materials, that is PCMs. PCMs are the popular one which converts, which uses the thermal energy storage. These materials store heat when they undergo a phase change. A phase change means it may be changing from solid to the liquid or liquid to the gaseous state, or from liquid to the other, that is the gaseous state. So from solid to liquid, from liquid to gas, or from solid to solid itself, change of one crystalline form into another without a physical phase change. Without a physical phase change, when solid to solid only. Okay, the phase change from solid to the liquid is the most commonly used, but also solid to solid change is of higher interest, because in the solid to solid both phases will be in a solid only, but not physical phase changes. Without a physical phase changes, there will be a crystalline form into another crystalline form. That is what happens when we convert from solid to the solid state. The change of interest is that these materials can be used as an effective way of storing thermal energy. Either it may be a solar energy or off-peak electricity or industrial waste heat. In comparison to the sensible heat storage systems, the latent heat storage has the advantages of high storage density compared to the sensible heat. That is what we have discussed even in the previous session, due to high latent heat of fusion. Latent, that is what even in the discussion of formation of the steam, we have discussed HFG and HG. It is all nothing but the latent heat of fusion and the isothermal nature of the storage process. So these are the reasons which makes the latent heat storage more effective compared to the sensible heat storage. The heat of fusion or heat of evaporation is much greater than that of the specific heat capacity. The comparison between the latent heat storage and the sensible heat storage shows that in latent heat storage, the densities are typically 5 to 10 times higher than the sensible heat storage. So it is a huge margin actually. 5 to 10 times it is more than the sensible heat, means then obviously one would go for the sensible heat storage. In general, latent heat effects associated with the phase change are significant. Latent heat, which is also known as the enthalpy of vaporization from liquid to vapor, that is what I was just telling you in the formation of steam. From liquid to the steam, whatever the amount of energy that has been absorbed, That is what we call it as an enthalpy of vaporization or enthalpy of fusion from solid to the liquid phase change is the amount of heat added or removed from the substance to produce a change in phase. One example if you would like to tell you is if you take a liquid water, if you take 1 kg of water and if you want to convert that 1 kg of water into the steam, you will supply certain amount of heat. The amount that is being completely taken for complete conversion of 1 kg of water into steam, what is the amount that is being absorbed, that is called as latent heat of vaporization, because there it is vaporized. So the water will take the heat and it will evaporate, and there will be a phase change from liquid to the gaseous state. The amount that is being absorbed by this 1 kg of water is nothing but latent heat of vaporization. Is it clear? Say the steam has been formed after observing. If you want the heat back, so what we will do it is, instead of evaporation, what we do it is we will condense the steam. When we condense the steam to back to the water, it will releases the energy. During the condensation, what happens? It just releases the energy, and the phase change back to the water will be formed. So that is the enthalpy of. Is that clear? Now, is the amount of heat added or removed from a substance to produce a change of phase. This energy breaks down the intermolecular attraction forces and also must provide the energy necessary to expand the substance, that is a PdV work or P delta V, pressure and change in volume work, only in the constant volume process where the delta V will be 0. The change in volume will be 0 only in the constant volume process where the work done is 0. When latent heat is added, no temperature change does occur. Now, it is a bit confusing. I just shall make it clear. So, what happens if you have a 1 kg of water? 1 kg of water. When you supply the heat, all the water suddenly will not be converted into a steam or a gaseous form. So, what happens? The water will start boiling at 100 degrees centigrade. The water will be boiling in the 100 degrees centigrade only. Once it starts boiling, it will keep boiling, boiling. How long it keeps boiling? Till all the water molecules in a liquid phase will be converted into the gaseous phase. Till then, it will be keep boiling it. So the temperature now, point to be noted, if it is boiling, its temperature is 100 degrees centigrade. Now once the heat has been given, if it starts boiling from that point till the complete 1 kg of water, it is converted into the vapor state of water. So what happens? The complete process will be maintained at the same temperature. That is what the beauty of latent heat. So that is why we are just telling it here. When latent heat is added, no temperature change occurs, but heat addition will be there, certainly, yes. Next, that is all about the latent heat. Now let me come to this solar water heaters. A solar water heater is a device actually, or a system that uses the sun to heat your domestic hot water. Just like a solar electric system, it uses the panels to collect the solar energy. However, these panels contain a water based fluid that carries the sun's heat down to your hot water tank. A solar water heating system is a device that uses solar energy to heat water from domestic, commercial, or industrial applications. Heating of water is the most common application of solar energy in the world in the domestic applications. That is important. Now, if you can see it here, my dear friends, this is a solar panel. Yesterday, if you remember in the previous class, when we were talking about flat plate collector, a liquid flat plate collector, this is the liquid flat plate collector. Now this is a solar water heating system. You can see this is a roof. It has been always placed under roof with an inclination of angle towards north or south. This is not a concentrating, this is a non-concentrating solar collector. It's a flat plate collector. Is it clear? Now, in the previous class we discussed what is the principle of working of a flat plate collector. Now this is an application of a solar water heater. Is it clear, my dear friends? Now here A typical water heating system can save up to 1500 units of electricity every year for every 100 liters per day of solar water heating capacity. See how much 1500 units of electricity. Now one unit is maybe around 2 and a half rupees or 3 rupees or 4 rupees. I don't have a clear idea. Even on an average, if you take it as a 3 rupees, so obviously it will come to be 7,500 rupees that is saved because of the solar water heating, that is for the 100 liters. Now you can see this is a flat plate collector which has been placed on the roof of the house. So what happens here, the cold water actually, for your kind information, if the solar panel is somewhere here, it is like this, then what happens, the cold water storage will be always at the top of it. So that what happens, by the virtue, by the density or the heaviness of that, by the weight of the water, automatically it comes to the solar panel systems. So what happens here, the blue color one, what you can see it here, it is a cold water pump and controller. This is a pump and controller. No need for pump and controller. Actually, there will be a syntax. There will be a syntax. Automatically, it just comes down. Is that clear? Now, what happens? This solar collector will have a number of copper tubes. Hope you remember. Yesterday we have told a number of copper or aluminum tubes will be there in the previous class. So, this aluminum or copper tubes are extensively used because they have got a higher heat conductors. They have got a higher thermal conductivity and they are very good thermal conductors. That is the reason why we are using a copper tubes. So what happens here, these tubes will be filled with the cold water. As this cold water keeps circulating over here, now you can see it here, as there are number of tubes, as this keeps circulating here, because of the heat that is being got entrapped inside the solar collectors, what happens, this receivers are nothing but our copper or aluminum tubes in which the cold water is flowing. This cold water will be, what is it, is absorbs the heat, and it just becomes warmer. And then there will be one more tube will be there here, actually it will store it. So what happens, this will comes the warm, I'm not telling you as a hot initially, please be careful, I'm not telling it is a hot, a warm water will come and place it in the storage tank, and then it once again it goes up. So this will be a cyclic process. Once it becomes too hot, whenever you switch on the taps in your bathroom, or it may be in the kitchen, or it may be in outside applications, so that what happens, does the stored hot water comes to our required place. No, because my dear friends, please be careful here, we are not using any other energy sources, only the solar energy. Only we are using electricity to pump the water from lower sump to the syntax. Apart from that, the movement of the cold water, the movement of the hot water, it is all natural. It is only by the difference of density, the difference of the temperature, by the buoyancy forces, what is happening it is circulating it automatically, and it just comes out as a hot water. That is the beauty of this solar water heat. That is what it just saves 1500 units of electricity every year. It uses the solar energy extended to water heating systems. Must solar water heating solutions create hot water that is consumed inside the home. Solar water heaters uses a rooftop cell to absorb the sun's heat and transfer it to the water tank. Next on is a solar space heating and cooling. Now, what happens actually? There are few applications. I would like to tell you a few applications. Then we should go for what is the importance of this. What do you mean by space heating and cooling? If you go for any cold countries where 24/7 they have to have a room heaters. What is the applications of these room heaters? They just, it is opposite to this room coolers or air conditioners. They maintain warmer uh, comforts inside the space or inside the room. That is where what they will do is they have to maintain the inside the room. They should maintain certain temperature, maybe around 25 or 28 degrees centigrade. because the temperature there in the cold countries may go up to 0 degrees minus 10 degrees. Even in our New Delhi itself, it goes up to 0 degree temperature. In certain occasions, the room has to be heated. Instead of using electric heater, they will use a solar space heater systems, and vice versa. If you go for any the other hot conditions like desert like conditions where the room has to be cooled, so what they will do is they will use the cooling systems. And there are a few growth, if you if you consider me, mushroom growth. There are agricultural practices where the mushroom growth needs to be maintained with certain humidity. Then in such cases also the mushroom is grown inside the home or not outside actually. So what happens? Those mushrooms are growing does also requires a certain temperature, some humidity is required. In such cases also the space heating is required. Now forget about it, all those things. You might have seen nowadays in the farm field also you can see a white color houses, a big tents like structures in the farm field where the temperature is been maintained, a normal temperature is been maintained, a stagnant temperatures, so that the growth of plant will be maintained. In those applications, we go for a space heating and cooling systems. Now, the solar heating and cooling systems, that is SHC technologies, collect the thermal energy from the sun and use this heat to provide a hot water, space heating, cooling, and pool heating for residential, commercial, and industrial applications. These are the few applications. These technologies displace the need to use electricity or natural gas. Okay, instead of electricity and natural gases, we can use the solar energy. A solar cooling system collects solar power and uses it in a thermally driven cooling process, which is in turn used to decrease and control the temperature for purposes like generating chilled water or conditioning air for a buildings. Now, as you can see this sketch, there is an arrangement is been made. There is a one separating layer is also there. This is a wall. Okay, now immediately after that wall we have a transparent material made up of a glass. There will be a transparent wall will be there, wherein which the sunlight which will enter into this solar radiations. This is a air gap is been maintained between the glass and the wall. My dear friend, this is a similar like approach where we have discussed in the flat plate collectors. In the above this receivers, above the receivers, above this receivers we always have a gap between a glass plate cover. This is a solar, this is a solar uh, collectors, wherein which this is a receiver and this is a collector, and this is a cover, a transparent, which may be made up of a plastic or it may be made up of a transparent glasses. There will be an air gap. So what happens here? As the sunlight enters into the glass, it allows the solar radiations to fall inside and the air gap, the air which has been present between these two walls, that is a wall and to the glass plate, will be get heated up. Once it does get heated up, it will move to the upward surface, where a small passage has been made in order to allow this warm air or a hot air to enter into this space. Obviously, what happens by the simple thermodynamics or a common sense, what happens once the hot air or a warm air moves around this place is being replaced by a cold air over here because it is heavier. So what happens? The cold air will come and occupies this place, and the warmer one will comes and occupies the above place. The red and orange color one will indicate the warmer or a hot air, whereas the cold air is indicated by the blue color. Now you can see this cold air at the bottom and the warmer or a hot air at the top. Now insulation is being made in order to avoid a thermal leakages or a leakages of the air. So this is how it just circulates. It's a natural phenomenon. We are just encouraged it with a glass plate. Now no equipment is required over here, my dear friend. No other equipment is required. By virtue of the temperature difference itself, it is moving around. Now this as an active solar heating systems are most cost effective in cold climates with good solar resources when they are displacing the more expensive heating fuels such as electricity, propane, and oils. Now, this is what a active solar heating systems, where naturally by the virtue of its the temperature difference, the air is being circulated. Now, there is one more thing, passive heating. The passive heating captures sunlight either as a heat or electricity to augment heating systems, while passive heating captures heat from the sun as it comes into your home through windows, roofs, and walls to heat objects in your home. Active solar heating systems use solar energy to heat fluid, either liquid or air, and then transfer the solar heat directly to the interior space or to storage systems for later uses. Both liquid and air systems can be supplemented forced air systems. So what happens in the active systems? Active systems uses a direct conversion of solar energy. The solar energy has been directly utilized for heating a liquid as gases for the space heating and cooling systems, whereas the passive system uses it, stores it. It may be thermal storage, or it may be electrical storage, or it may be heat storage. So what happens? It will store it and it will be used on requirement. That is the reason why we also go for solar refrigeration system and solar air conditioning system also. Solar refrigeration and air conditioning system, they are all comes under the category of passive heatings, and where the heat and electricity will be stored. Okay, even in actually the refrigeration system also we get active systems, but a passive system is the one which stores the solar energy and it is utilized for the later on purposes. Using the sun's energy to heat buildings, the windows, walls, floors can be designed to collect stores. So whatever the solar energy which are just, you just imagine, I just shall go to the previous slide. If you think the so in instead of see in a clear picture I just shall give you, in the active solar heating what happens, solar radiations are directly allowed to fall inside the home, and this air will be heated and this is the circulation takes place. Instead of this glass plate, if you place a solar collectors instead of this roof, sorry, above this roof, if you keep the solar collectors, so the wherever the solar radiations are falling, what I'll do it is I will keep the solar radiation panels or the collectors, and these collectors will collect the electricity, and sorry, these panels, solar collectors will collect the solar energy and convert that into electrical energy, or they will store it as a heat, and that heat or electricity is being utilized for the space heating systems. That is why we are just saying it as the walls, windows are designed in such a way that it collects and stores and distributes solar energy in the form of heat in the winter, and also to reject solar heat in the summer. Greenhouses and sunrooms are examples of passive designs. The sun's rays pass through the windows and the structure's interior absorbs and retains the heat. Now if you can see this, solar collectors, the sensors will be there and there will be a controller will be there. So this is a storage tank with a heat exchanger. Heat exchanger is nothing but it is a device which exchanges the heat between two fluids. That is what we call it as a heat exchanger. So what happens here? We have a cold water at this. Okay. Now this cold water is being pumped to the solar collectors. Actually, by if you keep this cold water storage above the solar collectors, obviously by um, because of the elevated height, by the potential difference itself, potential energy itself, it will come automatically, but still it is okay, it will be coming to these solar collectors, it flows all around and collects the heat, and then it comes back and will mix up with this, and the hot water will be sent out. So this is how it just carries on. It is quite similar to the water heating systems. Next one is a power generation. Solar energy generation is one of the fastest growing and most promising renewable energy sources of power generation worldwide. Nowadays, the electrical energy becomes one of the basic needs in our daily life, which makes increasing demand for it. As a major source of electrical power generation, fossil fuels are depleting, day by day, and also its usage raises serious environmental concerns. It is only because of the fossil fuels which are more harmful uh, for the living beings on the earth. It is polluting it. The pollution is resulting in acid rains. The pollution is resulting in ozone depletion. The pollution is also resulting in global warming. So because of this, people are looking out for the alternative energy sources, in which the solar energy is being used for the power generation. These reasons force the development of new energy sources which are renewable and ecologically safe. Now that is the reason why this solar energy system doesn't make any pollution, and they are clean energy sources. Solar radiations may be converted directly into electricity by solar cells, or we also call it as a photovoltaic cells. Solar cells are a photovoltaic cells are made up of semiconductors. That is what these semiconductors. A small electric voltage is generated when light strikes the junction between a metal and a semiconductor, such as a silicon, or a junction between two different semiconductors. Okay, when exposed to direct sunlight, a typical home solar panel produces about 300 watts in 1 hour, which means that in a normal day during summer comprising 10 hours of sunlight, it can produce around 3000 watts. 3000 joules per second it will provide, or 3 kilowatt hour per day. It's a huge amount that it can generate. Now, my dear friends, these solar photovoltaic cells are the solar cells. They are also called as solar cells. These will have a layers like this. This may be a layer between a metal and a semiconductor, or between two different semiconductors. So what happens before I start off this semiconductors? I just want to tell you what do you mean by semiconductor. Semiconductors will always have equal number of protons and electrons. Electrons and holes. Holes are positively charged and electrons are negatively charged. But still they will not be conducting energy. It is only because it is the balanced one. Number of holes will be is equal to number of electrons. So what happens these semiconductors when an energy is being given? When energy is being given, so what happens? These electrons will start flowing. These electrons will start flowing and it generates a small amount of potential difference. A one electron movement with one hole will gives you a small amount of potential difference or a voltage. Then there will be a number of n number of electrons and holes will be there which will be energized. How we can energize? We can energize it in any ways, maybe by electrical energy or maybe by any other source. But these photovoltaic cells or a solar cells will be energized by a solar radiations. These solar radiations are also nothing but an energy. So what happens? You can make in this sketch, they are the thin sheets like structures, thin sheets. They will put it over here. Now this semiconductors may be n type or p type. There are two types of semiconductors are also there. Now what happens here in n type or in p type, there will be an extra electrons or holes will be there. The movements of the electrons or movement of the holes will be predominant. Based on that, they categorize into p type and n type semiconductor. Examples for the semiconductors are the silicon, germanium, or a few popularly one which are being used in the solar cells. Now here you can see this, the bottommost portion is a p-type semiconductor and the top one is a n-type semiconductors. In between that there exists a junction. Because of this junction, what happens when the solar light falls onto this, electrons will be charged. They will start flowing and then it makes a circuit over here. Now here that will be converted into electrical energy. Now imagine, my dear friends, if a one solar panel, if it is been placed above our house roof, it will provide, it generates for 10 hours, it generates around 3000 watts, that is 3 kilowatts hour per day. It's a huge amount. So next one is a solar refrigeration system. Solar refrigeration system. Now basically refrigeration system always uses one refrigerant whose boiling or a melting point is very low, maybe ammonia, maybe hydrocarbons, maybe carbon dioxide. There are different types of refrigerants are there. These refrigerants needs temperature to evaporate, and then this is something like a sensible heat and a latent heat. The phase changes keeps absorbing it, keeps changing it. Is it clear? Now you just take this. Solar powered refrigerator is a cooling appliance that works completely with energy provided by the sun. They are mostly used in a hot climate to keep food so it could be perish and keep vaccines at their appropriate temperature. Some solar powered refrigerators use a combination of solar panels and lead batteries. Okay, the lead batteries are the solar panels to store the energy when there is no sun on the cloudy days or under the night times, while other use heat of sun to make refrigerator work easily. So there are two different types of refrigeration system are there. One is a VCR and the other one is a VAR. VCR is nothing but a vapor compression refrigeration system. VAR is nothing but vapor absorption refrigeration system. Now, for the demonstration, I have taken a vapor compression refrigeration system which we are just using it in our domestic applications. Every home will have a refrigeration now, which are working on the principle of VCR. Okay, now as you can see it here in the compressor. In the compressor, the hot ammonia, okay, the hot ammonia will compress over here, and and will be compressed to the very high temperature and pressure, and it will go to the condenser where it will be condensed. When it is been condensed, it will the heat will be liberated. The heat will be liberated, and then it becomes a cold. If you take it as a ammonia as a refrigerant, the condenser is a one device which condenses any fluid from a liquid state, from gaseous state to the liquid state by releasing the temperature. So the cold ammonia will come over here in the expansion valve, where what happens, expansion valve is much expands it to a lower temperature, so it becomes much cooler. Once this cooled ammonia will come into this evaporator. Basically evaporator is nothing but where the place we keep our food vegetables in the refrigeration. ನಮ್ಮ ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ fridge open ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಏನು ನಮಗೆ chamber ಕಾಣಿಸುತ್ತಲ್ಲ, that chamber itself is nothing but an evaporator section where we keep our vegetables and food materials. So what happens, whatever the temperature which has been maintained in that chamber, that temperature makes this ammonia to evaporate. That means heat will be absorbed by this ammonia. So the heat will be absorbed by, once the heat has been absorbed, what happens, it becomes closed. Once the heat has been absorbed, the space becomes cold. Is it clear? So once it has been heated, once it absorbs the heat, it becomes hotter or warmer, and then it will go to the compressor. It will be compressed to a higher pressure and temperature. Then once again it goes, and it is. So this is where, this is how this VCR does works. So basically what happens, we supply the electricity for this compressor. Compressor is the one which requires electrical energy. That is what you can see it, a black color box at the bottom of a refrigerator behind of your fridge. So instead of supplying electrical energy, we will supply the energy to this compressor from the solar energy. This is the idea behind of it. Instead of electrical energy, either we can use the direct solar radiations to that, or we convert the solar radiations into electrical energy, and then that electrical energy is being used to run this compressor. That is the idea behind of it. Refrigerators generally keep food cool through the process of evaporation. Compressor, which is a part of refrigerator, turns the refrigerant gas into a liquid. That is what the idea behind it. So what happens, pressure is then removed, the refrigerant turns back into gas and absorbs heat because it has to take energy from somewhere. That cools its surroundings. Solar powered refrigerator works similarly, but the refrigerant is replaced with ammonia or lithium bromide mixed with water. We use ammonia or lithium bromide mixed with water. Instead of compressor, the heat of the sun is used to increase the pressure of the gas. So the idea behind of it is, we are just using solar energy for this compressor. Either we can convert the solar energy into electrical energy, and that electrical energy is being supplied to the compressor. So that what happens, it compresses this vapor, ammonia or refrigerant to a higher pressure and compressor vapor form, because it has absorbed the heat. So liquid will be converted into vapor form. That has been observed here. That is one way. And the second way is, instead of this compressor, we will remove this compressor, we will put the solar panel. The heat makes this the vapor pressure to increase. The higher pressure will be sent out here. This is the usages of the high solar refrigeration system. These are the few applications of the solar refrigeration system. One more applications are there, that is the desalination point and the solar ponds, that we shall discuss in the next.